Greetings again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of OSI Today, the podcast featuring news and views from around the Office of Special Investigations. I'm Wayne Amon from OSI Public Affairs, and in this edition, we continue our special series, My OSI Journey, which showcases the diversity and inclusion of our command-wide members. And today, I'm very pleased to be joined by Special Agent Renardo Sanders, assigned to the 1st Field Investigations Squadron, Anti-terrorism Specialty Team Detachment 2, Ramstein Air Base, Germany. Special Agent Sanders, welcome to the program. So great to hear you from across the pond.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before we get into some meat and potatoes questions, I know your bio was showing us that you're a native of Michigan. I guess, is that suburban Detroit? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you graduated from high school there in the great state of Michigan. And after you graduated from high school, you joined the Air Force, but it was not in the Office of Special Investigations. You went into another career field. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. I under the mindset that I was going to have a future in engineering. Specifically, I wanted to be a pilot. So I was like, in my mind back then, young Renardo.
Yeah. Right.
In my mind, I thought, let me join civil engineering. So my family at the time, growing up, we had a carpentry company. And so I did some of that. So that was another reason why I chose to go into civil engineering. Uh-huh. But I was thinking engineering, even though it says civil, jump over to a pilot type situation once I get my degree and everything.
Sure.
As I got older, it calculated that didn't make a lot of sense. But
okay. So you decided then, but you spent a few years in the civil engineering career field. Is that right?
Yes. I spent pretty much about 10 years in civil engineering, and I would say it was a great decision to do that. I got to see deploy quite a few times compared to some of the younger members in the field.
Uh-huh.
So got to see different parts of the world.
Right. Now, other than or in addition to getting kind of globetrotting the world on various assignments, is it safe to say that you brought some valuable experience from the CE career field into OSI? Did any of the previous AFSC help you as you transitioned into law enforcement?
Yes, just with the experience. So in my prior career field, I did a lot of construction inspections, project management type things. So in various parts of my career, whether it be downrange and dealing with some of the fraud type situations, it has helped.
I see. Now, when exactly and how did you become interested in law enforcement and subsequently in OSI? What made you decide, okay, I'm going to transition into this particular career field?
So from a young age, I was interested in law enforcement. I would say it probably started back when I was probably in, I think, 3rd grade.
Wow. That early, huh?
Yes. It may have started before that, but that's specifically. So one day, our sports leagues back then were predominantly coached and started by police and fire department, things like that.
Right.
So in the 3rd grade, it was one day we were leaving practice and the coaches had offered us a ride. And that specific coach was he drove an ambulance. And we dropped a couple kids off and a call came over the radio. And just so happened that call was across the street from my house.
Uh-huh.
So where I'm from, the street I grew up on, a lot of the people, although they're not kin to each other blood, we would call each other cousins and things like that. So,
right.
Because they were across the street, I knew specifically like where it was and everything. And when we pulled up, he was like, stay in the back, and I did. And come to find out, it was one of the older guys who's very close to my oldest brother. I guess there was some altercation and, shooting and everything like that.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was a lot of that growing up during my childhood, whether it be with on my street specifically or with siblings. So to say this, but a lot of my siblings at one point in time sold drugs, and negative things has happened to them. And through the experience of that, I've always looked at things as going in the opposite direction. So
right.
That's why law enforcement has become a huge part of what I wanted to do. I had a junior ROTC instructor, Air Force, in high school, and I did that for 4 years. And he was prior security forces. And the one thing he kept telling me over the years, especially as I got closer to enlisting, was do not go security forces.
Although security forces, I had to say, they really go hand in hand with OSI these days. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just for him. He retired. I don't know. I would say probably in the 80s, maybe 90s.
Right.
So security forces back then was a bit different from what they are now.
Right.
And security forces is different from what it was when I joined. So
sure.
And same for OSI, same for the Air Force.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everything tends to evolve over the course of time, I guess.
Yes. So that was really where I got into wanting to go into law enforcement. OSI came onto my radar first, I would say, when I was at Beale back in probably 2009. One of my coworkers, he was going through the process of joining OSI, and for me, I had never really heard of it, but just talking with him as he was going through the process, he really wanted to do it and everything. And back then, because of Beale's being part of ACC, we deployed a lot. Pretty much 6 on, 6 off.
Right.
So he ended up getting orders to deploy, and that caused a wrinkle in his process of becoming OSI. So he ended up subsequently getting out because he didn't want to stay in our current job.
Right.
So, and then for me, I got orders literally right after that. I got orders to deploy. And then during that deployment, during the training for that deployment, I got orders to Osan, Korea, and then I had to cancel that because of the deployment. So then while deployed, I got orders to Eielson, Alaska for 4 years.
Wow.
So that pushed all my plans back.
But after Eielson, and in checking out your bio here that I'm looking at right in front of me, a few years later, you became a special agent trainee down to, going from Alaska down to Eglin, Florida. Is that right?
Yes. In total, I did probably about 10 months, maybe 11 months of AT status, just because of I ended up getting a hernia and needing surgery.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So I ended up they just instead of keeping me at Eielson, they pushed me to my follow-on, got surgery there, healed up, took a PT test, and then went off to school.
Wow! So it all turned out for the best, both physically and career-wise for you. That's for sure. Now, as far as the beginning of your OSI career, Renardo, when you became a special agent, were there any challenges that you faced once you joined OSI, and how did you overcome them, if there were some?
I would say one of the biggest challenges for me was at the time while I was going through school, the schoolhouse. Early on, I was in a relationship, and I was kind of like trying to juggle the relationship and school, and it was whooping me. So I ended up not passing the very first test. I missed it by one question. One question.
But you stuck with it.
Oh yes. So I was determined not to reach my goals. That's one thing about me. So for me, knowing that if I had messed up or didn't pass a PE or an exam or anything like that one more time, I was gonna be done for me.
Uh-huh.
So I just buckled down and I ended the relationship because my career was more important to me than the relationship.
I see.
So for me, I just after ending the relationship, I just buckled down, and after that, I had no struggles. My grades shot up, and I never looked back.
Good on you. That's tremendous. Well, it shows that perseverance does pay off, no doubt about that. Now, what exactly inspires you to do your best in OSI? I know it sounds like from your last answer, you really self-motivated yourself, but is there anyone or anything that inspires you to do your best as a special agent within OSI?
I would say just some of the different leaders that I've come into contact with, whether it be supervisors or SACs now. I've been inspired by just the change in which are really the Air Force all the way down to OSI specifically is coming into change as far as especially when it comes to diversity and inclusion.
Right.
Just having the conversations about some of the things that certain races, people in the service have issues with, and we've been having issues with those for some time. And just being able to have that conversation and being able to get the issues on the table and to try to make change.
Right.
Is very motivational and everything. I would say that. And I mean, what also inspires me is seeing the faces and the people that we impact. I mean, I go back to when I was stationed at Kadena as AST. I did a humanitarian type mission in Papua New Guinea.
Uh-huh.
And for majority of the missions that we go on, it's rare to come across, I mean, outside of Africa, which the first time I went to Africa was this past year because I was deployed to Djibouti.
Uh-huh.
But outside of that, you rarely ever see anybody that looks like you.
Okay.
And see the impact that you have on them. So it was very great to go to Papua New Guinea and to help with the humanitarian situation, which was primarily medical.
Sure.
It was very rewarding to see that. And then, like I said, going to Africa, one of my friends was deployed there as OSI, and I sent down like clothing and stuff like that,
right.
that I didn't need anymore. And I literally reached out to our previous SAC and told him, next deployment to Africa, I want to go. And the next one that came down, I got to go on. So it was
very good.
Great.
Again, perseverance paid off in your case, no doubt about that. Now, we did mention a couple of times, Renardo, that you're a member of AST, or the Anti-terrorism Specialty Team. Now, in doing a little research about the creation of AST from one of our previous command historians, she noted that in March of 1997, OSI leadership created the Anti-terrorism Specialty Team, or AST, to provide a fast, flexible, global response force protection capability consisting of anti-terrorism, counterintelligence collections, and investigative services to support Air Force and DoD force protection operations. Now, in your position, what is the most gratifying part of your job with OSI, and in particular as a member of AST?
I would say because I love to travel, so
right.
having that as an opportunity is one of the biggest pluses, because you get to travel for work and see different parts of the world.
Right.
but to work and also meet and mix with the different embassy teams,
Right.
And get to see people networking with other agencies. I would say those are the bigger things that's like, I would say if someone's interested in that, those are the bigger things for me. Now it may be a little different for others, but for me,
Right.
that's it.
Have you found yourself being like kind of a sponge, Renardo, as far as picking up interesting tidbits of the way other law enforcement organizations around the world conduct their business as well?
Definitely. I mean, we meet with local PD to other CI entities and above with different embassies and stuff like that. So it's a great opportunity. A lot to learn, a lot to share, because typically with the different missions, the hopes is that you tie a new member up with a member that has experience, and you kind of I would left seat, right seat type situation, but
right.
They're not going to put you in a situation where you feel less than or not prepared. Right. Because typically you have someone with skill that's been there.
Sure. Let's put on your a different hat there for a second now, if we can, Renardo. If you could look back and do it all over again, is there anything that you would change about your OSI career at all?
I don't think so. I've been quite lucky so far. I've gotten to do different jobs and gotten received every assignment that I've put in for the most part. I try to keep as much control over my career as I can.
Right.
So I volunteered for assignments just because I know I was hot for, specifically short tour. So I volunteered for the Saudi Arabia assignment that I went on. And then originally went there for CI, but ended up doing PSD. And then
excuse me, Renardo, for our novice listeners who may not be familiar with some of the OSI unique acronyms, PSD is Protective Service Detachment, correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. We have a lot of new listeners. We have a lot of new listeners.
So yes, I going there and originally for one job and being able to do another, and then actually getting sent off to the PSD course because I extended to stay there for an additional year, but the Army took over. So then I kind of got the option of where did I want to go.
Right.
And then that's how I ended up getting into AST at Kadena.
Wow, another OSI success story, as it were, I guess.
Yes.
I'm going to shift gears back to the diversity and inclusion angle, if I could, for a second, Renardo. In also researching the creation of AST article, our command historian at the time wrote that the very first female OSI agent to deploy in a combat zone was a member of the AST. Now, that leads me to my question. Why is diversity and inclusion foundational to OSI's success in your view?
Because, I mean, with how diverse the military is in general, and then you break it down to the Air Force and then OSI specifically, you have to have diversity because you're always going to run into those type of situations where they're country dependent. You may go somewhere where working with just all males, or I mean, I've had it where we've been deployed and having a female on your team going into an interview or something like that, having that female there, I would say relaxes some people and or opens them up to communicate more just because it's a female.
Sure.
In some of these countries, It may be because of other reasons that I won't state, but
Right.
but that's been the case, as well as certain locations in Africa. You can see when an African American agent walks into the room with his partner,
Right.
how it's different when it's the intro meet. Just the
Right.
look on their face, the smile or whatever type of gesture because of said agent. So yeah.
Yeah, those first impressions do mean a lot, no doubt about that. Um, what put on your little forward-thinking cap a little bit, if we can, Renardo. What direction do you envision OSI going into the future? And you've been with the organization for a few years now. What vector, what direction do you see OSI progressing? Is, obviously the world stage is changing constantly, and what have you. How do you envision the evolution of OSI?
I would say, like at the moment, we're still at the stage of, I guess, figuring out a way to respond to the talks that we had last year.
Right.
And I would say, as time goes on, as the more we can open up and have those type of conversations, and actually put forth steps towards change,
right?
It's only going to become a better agency all around. I would say that.
Some other folks I've talked to, said, with technology changing almost at a daily rate, OSI is, staying on the forefront of staying ahead of the technology, because that is all part and parcel of the toolkit for special agents, along with, the changes as far as personnel and so on and so forth.
Definitely.
So it sounds like it's kind of a big umbrella that covers a whole lot of areas. Would you think is that a fair statement to make?
Yes. When it comes to diversity and inclusion, a lot of things people may not think of initially, but if you dive deep into it, there's a lot of ways in which diversity and inclusion can affect OSI towards change. I mean, just me and you doing this podcast right now,
right?
There may be a member of security forces or whoever that may listen to it one day, and it may help them to join. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like you said, technology is growing, and there's the more we do to show our growth in diversity and inclusion across the agency, whether it be with recruiting, flyers, or websites, and things like that,
right.
It will only help and grow better.
Right. Now, you led me perfectly into my next question. With your recruiting hat on there, Renardo, what advice would you give someone who would like to join OSI?
So, I mean, I do a lot of talking with people, just because I'm a people person.
Right.
So I would say, if they're thinking about it, do it, apply. I mean, I come across, and just like, I have conversations with other agents, and we always come across the people that's like, oh, I thought about joining OSI. And I always ask, like, why didn't you?
Right.
And for whatever reason they come up, they say, it's always like, at least in my mind, I'm just like, well, you should have joined.
Right.
Because the benefits of being in OSI, especially if you're interested in law enforcement, which a lot of people are.
Sure.
Across the Air Force, the benefits will outweigh the negatives. I mean, regardless of what career fields you go in, there's going to be some negatives depending on the person and experience. But I don't know. I mean,
So you would. So I was going to say. So you would tell somebody who's thinking about it. Well, turn that thought into some kind of an action toward joining.
Right. Just going and meeting with the local detachment. I always tell people that, because that's how when I was at Allison, I was coming up on about close to 18 months out from PCSing.
Uh-huh.
And I knew my window was a 1 year out of applying. So I went over to the office and talked to them, and just mentioned like, hey, I'm interested in joining, explain what career field I was in, things that I've done, different deployments and stuff. And they told me, like, hey, come back because I was soon to deploy as well.
Right.
So, they told me come back after my deployment if I was still serious.
Mm-hmm.
So while on that deployment, I was in Oman, and there was a OSI detachment there, and I went over and talked to them. Like, it's always wherever I'm at, especially when I was thinking of cross training, wherever I was at, I'm going to go and talk to the people, because those are the people that's doing the job. And it also lets people know that you're truly interested, that you really want to do it.
Yeah. And there's no better person to talk to than the people who are actually doing the job, the boots that are actually on the ground, if you will.
Exactly.
Right. Now, before we wrap things, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Renardo. You had something else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, when I walked into the office over in Oman, I guess they, the soup or the SAC at the time had told him, like, yeah, I was coming over. So I walked into the office, and it was a diverse office.
Right.
So as I'm walking in, they're all like looking at me, and like they stopped talking, and some people are in the background doing like the cutthroat, like, don't do it, but they're just joking or whatever.
Right.
So that was it was cool talking to them and just getting their insight. So yeah.
Right. And of course, when you say soup and sake, that's superintendent of the det, or the special agent in charge. So those are the kinds of folks that will give you the straight skinny on the career field of OSI, no doubt about that. So, Renardo, before we wrap things up today, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, no. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I just want to make sure you have an ample opportunity to chime in if you'd like. So our guest has been Special Agent Renardo Sanders, 1st Field Investigations Squadron, Anti-terrorism Specialty Team Detachment 2, Ramstein Air Base, Germany. Renardo, thanks again for taking the time to be with us. We're so great to talk to you finally. Thanks for making the time for us.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
And thanks to all of you listening for tuning in. For OSI Today, my OSI Journey, I'm Wayne Amon saying so long for now.